Hi, my name is Ashley Dillahunty, and this is my audience. I have my brother, my dad, my other brother, and my mom. Okay, I'm gonna set this back up here. Alrighty. So today I am going to talk about self-image versus society. And I know some of you guys might think, oh, self-image, I already know what that is, or why does she have to be cliche and talk about that? To me, it's something I'm passionate about and something that I really strive to work on with other individuals, especially women. And so self-image, by definition, is the idea of appearance and personality and abilities. And so with that being, I'll talk about three different things today. I'll talk about how we view ourselves, how we are to be aware of others, and how the value of life is influential towards everybody. And so being aware of ourselves, when we are aware of ourselves, we understand what we want, what we believe, and what we think. And so I always say the first thing that we do in the morning, or most people do, is they look in the mirror. So I have a reference of a mirror. We look at ourselves and we look at our flaws, we look at things that are different than maybe Rachel or Sean or whoever else is in our lives. We think that we need to have what they have to be important, to be successful. And that's an idea, like if you think about it, did that really come from ourselves? Did that really come from how I truly think? And honestly, when I look back into my childhood, I didn't have a phone, which is what I'm recording off of, or I didn't have a television where I sat in front of all the time. I was outside, compared to my brothers who have had like Nintendos or other sources of technology where they can be influenced by the world every minute of every second of every day. And so society truly impacts how we think, feel, and can relate to other people. And so the idea of us trying to believe that we need to look like somebody else to be important is one of the main things that drives our self-image to be different than what it is to be, if that makes sense. So when someone comes up to you and they might say, oh, you look ugly, or oh, that doesn't look good on you, you take that to heart. You say, wow, I am physically not appropriate to be in front of somebody because they might think that I'm not like successful or appear to be real or authentic to them. They think that I'm fake or that I'm gross. And so our self-image and then thus our self-esteem diminishes. And when that happens, that causes this some sort of mental decompression in our mind to really think of all these negative things, and that leads to depression and anxiety. Those are two mental disorders I'll talk about today. And so the fact that depression is real, and being aware that anxiety is real, and that the fact that out of every 5 people, there are at least 3 that are diagnosed with depression and anxiety. And that's the fact that they believe that they need to be somebody else in order to be successful. They believe those limitations that society puts in front of them, and they have to achieve them. They have to be that way in order to go out into the world. And so because of that, when we look at it children-wise, they say today, a high schooler in high school today has the same anxiety level as a psychiatric patient of the 1950s. So somehow, dramatically, from the 1950s to 2018, we have built this expectation on younger generations that they need to think, feel, and react to what media tells them to do and to be in order to be successful. And so that completely changes the way we view ourselves and what we might want to be. A little girl might want to be a ballerina, but society might tell her, no, honey, you can only be a nurse, or you can only be maybe a receptionist. That is diminishing to her and her self-image of what she maybe wants to be when she's older. And so when we understand that anxiety and depression is real, we can look at the fact that suicide has increased over the years as well. Especially this last year, they say that Colorado Springs, so in Colorado, the suicide rate has gone up exponentially, and it has drastically increased in teens. Teens today feel like they cannot be themselves, they cannot dress the way they want to be because they are condemned and they are redesigned to think and act and look a certain way in order for them to go to a college, in order for them to be successful in their parents' eyes. They feel like they have to be somebody they're not. And so with that being, that causes them, even academically, to be either, maybe that helps drive them, but it doesn't help drive them in the positive way that life should be. And so by being aware of ourselves and looking at others, we can understand that not everybody has the same story. Not everybody is designed to think and look and be the same way, because why would that be? We are all made to be original. And so with that being said, we have to be respectful and be aware that somebody might be going through something. And they say hurting people hurt people. And when somebody uses maybe mean words towards another child, that can affect them. And yes, it causes the depression and anxiety, but it also causes fearful thinking. That's another thing that leads to suicide, is the fact that when we believe and we are fearful, we believe false evidence is appearing real. That's fear. We absorb that as children, and we believe that if we don't do something right, then we live in a world of fear. And with that being, we don't want that expectation for other generations. We want them to be positive and uplifted. We want them to know that they are accepted. And so by understanding that we are creatures of community, we thrive on being around people. Communication is our prime way of understanding, whether it's body language, verbally, or hearing. Even if you don't have eyesight, we use touch to understand how somebody feels towards us, how they might want to be around us. We see that as an acceptive rate of how we are to act around somebody. And so by understanding that, we can truly know that we cannot live on our own. Some people believe like, oh, I do fine on my own. No. Honestly, studies have shown that even like if you think about a grandma and grandpa, somebody might have had a grandma passed away, and then shortly after the grandpa dies because of his loss. He has lost that connection, that relationship of him to drive and move forward. So when someone lashes out in hurtful words, it can cause them to fracture that relationship. Then thus that person that receives those hurtful words can cause them to feel, wow, they don't feel like I'm good enough to be around them. And then thus they feel unworthy, they feel insignificant. And that leads to the other mental disorders or even eating disorders physically. They feel like they are not fit to be around people. And thus that can cause them to decline in their lifestyle. And some of the books I've read from pastors, TED Talks, and famous authors, I read this book called The Chatterbox. And it's by Stephen Furtick. And he says that the most influential thing and the most powerful thing that we hold to ourselves is the 6 inches from here to here. Our mind holds everything, how we feel, think, and react. And when society kind of blasts us and brainwashes us from all those different expectations and limitations and images and videos of how we think we should do something, that can hinder our lifestyle. And so today, I hope you acknowledge that even if this seems like a lot of information, very repetitive, that you know that even when you go out today, maybe somebody's going through something and you're not aware of it. If you at least acknowledge them and maybe smile or at least be positive and uplifting, that itself can help them have a better day or maybe a better life in general. You could impact them in a certain way. So by eliminating what society puts on us, I believe that life for generations to come can be more positive, uplifting, and more fulfilling for anybody who interacts with them as a whole. So I thank you for listening, and that is all. And I will show my audience again that they were all here to witness me speaking. There we go. And that's the end. Thank you.